Hello, in this demonstration, I am going to transform some of my jelly prints, my Zen Rock jelly prints from my last demonstration. So one of the things that's great, but kind of overwhelming with jelly printing is you get so many prints and some, you get a couple that really work and some that are maybe not so much. So I went through all of my stacks of prints and I picked ones that I felt had potential to be transformed. And and then I spent quite a bit of time. So underneath here, I've got all of the rocks that I pulled from the prints that I made. And I spent quite a bit of time shuffling these rock shapes around to create a new composition. And then I took photos with my phone. So off to the side, I've got these photos. Otherwise, there's no way I could remember where these rocks go. And so this is the part, the jelly printing happens quite quickly, but then if you choose to transform some of these prints, there's a whole editing process that goes on, and I spent quite a bit of time doing that up front because there's no way I could do it in a video. It would just take too long and wouldn't be very interesting. So I'm going to put these back in place as to where I arrange these shapes. Looking at my cheat sheet here off to the side. And as you're doing this, I think one of the things I had to consider is how much of what's below do I want to show. I left that rock showing here a little bit more. Okay, let me just finish arranging these. So first is the arrangement. That probably takes the most amount of time and is important. Takes patience. Okay, so that goes there, I think. Here and here. So here's my arrangement. Now I'm going to do some cutting and some gluing. I'm going to apply these with a heavy matte gel. I've also brought in some gold paper for added interest. I've already drawn some lines on these rocks with this red Conti pencil. I may add some more. I'm probably going to do some stamping. So I've got my arrangement, and then um, then there's an order. It's like, do I glue first or do some paint on the background, some drawing, some stamping? Um, all of those, the order can vary. For simplicity's sake, I am going to glue first and do a little painting later. And I think for expediency's sake, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to glue all of these rocks and then I'm going to come back because this could take a while. So I'll be back. Okay, I am back having glued down all of my jelly print rocks. If you're confused as to how I got them, go back and watch my previous video of Zen Rocks on the jelly plate. So I've glued them all down and I added some gold collage paper uh, for interest. And then on this one, I made the compositional choice of having some of the rocks spill out of the frame. I had drawn some lines over here with charcoal pencil and I kind of connected them to this rock. So now, what else can I add? So I have mixed, this is burnt sienna, high flow, and this is burnt sienna mixed with some quinacridone magenta. And I think I'm going to stamp maybe some red lines or maybe put a little bit of a red wash up here. Um, don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm going to give it a go. So I think I'm going to start with the burnt sienna on this one over here. And I've got a little test sheet of paper off to the side that I can um, test my transparent wash on. That looks pretty good. So now I'm going to put a wash on top of that rock shape. So far, I'm liking it. So the colors are so subtle on all of these. So that's why I want it fairly light. Okay. Let's see. Now I think I'm going to do some stamping in the background. Um, this was Van Dyke Brown, but I don't have it in high flow. I've got sepia, so I'm going to go with that. And I've got little strips of cardboard. I'm going to do a little test. So I can do some stamping on there. I created my prints with some stamp features, so I think this will go. I think I would have preferred it if it was the Van Dyke Brown. I can stamp, but I can also drag this piece of cardboard to vary the line width. Okay, I'm going to leave, let's see, I'm going to try some of this that I mixed with the burnt sienna with the quinacridone magenta. And just maybe put one or two lines in there for make it a little more dramatic. Okay, now this one, I think I want to make the background a little bit darker, and that was a Prussian blue. So I've got my Prussian blue high flow. Again, I'm going to add some water to it. I don't want it to be too, like, that's too intense. Okay, I just did that to kind of pop the rocks out a little bit more. Maybe I'll do a little bit of that in this print as well. Maybe not the whole thing. Like here, I'll go darker, leave some of these areas lighter. Again, I'm going to do a little more stamping. So little touches of color like this right at the end can add quite a bit to the piece. So I got this. I think I want to put one down here just to kind of move the eye across the page. And get carried away with this. Okay, so I think you get the basic idea of how you might transform some of your jelly prints. I like working in a series like maybe 3 at a time. I can work across all of them instead of putting all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. And then you get a nice little series going. It does take time, some planning, which is different from the spontaneity you get of making the jelly prints. But and the ones you don't use, you can just use for collage material, doing some tests on. Okay, I'll show you some others that I have transformed as well. So originally I was going to do chickens and eggs, wasn't working. So here the chicken comes back with the golden egg. Here's the one for my Zen Rocks thumbnail video, and then this one here. So that is it for transforming Zen Rocks on the Gelli Plate.